It is with so much joy and gladness that I welcome you again to another beautiful edition on your favorite channel on marriage matters. As you already know, our mandate here is to help put your marriage in the right perspective, God's perspective, by teaching and encouraging values that we believe will help transform your marriage from whatever state it is now, whatever unpleasant state it may be now, to what God intends for you. In this episode, we will be learning how we can further improve our marriage relationships by being selfless. I like to take a quote from Philippians chapter 2, verse 4, and it says, "Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others." I like to quickly point out here that selfishness is one of the most dangerous threats to the health of any marriage. It's, it affects everything about the attitude of the parties in the union toward each other. Everyone is naturally selfish. I agree. You would naturally love to take care of your needs first, always. And of course, taking care of yourself is a reasonable thing to do. If you don't take care of yourself, who would? That's just fine when you were single and unmarried. But once married, it's it is expedient, for all that to change. You must have to begin to replace the I with we. You must deliberately begin to think of the needs of your spouse too. You must be intentionally selfless. Being intentionally selfless is to think of the other person before yourself, purposefully. It is making the needs of your spouse more important to you. It is always looking out for ways you can put what he or she enjoys into action, even when you don't enjoy it. It is understanding that it is not all about you, but your spouse. It is about building a strong and healthy marriage, about growing together and winning together. Because when we put our spouse's needs first, we are blessing them and in return, getting blessed too. You might say, "What's the use? My wife will never change." Or, "There is no hope. I can't get my husband to change. He's always so preoccupied with himself alone." Don't get me wrong. It is not your wife or your husband that I'm addressing here. It's you. I'm not asking you to go work on your spouse to make attempts to change him or her, as the case may be. The only person you have the power to change is you. So let the change in your marriage begin with you and leave your spouse for God to work on. I very well understand how difficult it is to put your needs aside and focus on the spouses, especially when the spouse doesn't seem, to be reciprocating. But that is one of God's way of strengthening your relationship. Having said that, shall we consider how to show some selflessness towards our spouses? One, love unconditionally. Loving our spouses takes intentional behavior on our part. One of the most terrible things to do in a marriage is keeping record of wrongs and using them against your spouse. Of course, some behaviors like physical abuse should never be condoned or allowed, but little personality flaws should be quickly forgiven. Loving your spouse intentionally and unconditionally makes you feel motivated to help him succeed, happy, and feel loved. Number two, be of service. Look for small ways to serve your spouse. Help your wife with the dishes or the kids. Don't say it's her work, she should not involve you. Help your husband to get his car ready for use anytime you can. Constantly look for ways to be of service. It promotes love and acts of service in return. It may take time for your spouse to reciprocate, but don't give up. Number three, be interested in what interests your spouse. This may mean watching your husband's favorite soccer game with him when naturally soccer makes you sick, and even jubilating with him when his team scores, or going shopping with your wife when ordinarily you wouldn't want to have anything to do at the market. Number four, learn to compromise. Sometimes being selfless means merely compromising. It doesn't mean giving up your interest completely all your life. No. It just means to let go of the urge to be right and wanting to always have things done your own way. Five, ask God to help you. I believe strongly that God really wants every marriage to be very successful and that we can and should always turn to Him for help since marriage is His idea. I therefore suggest that you constantly ask Him to help you to overcome selfishness and give you grace to be selfless towards your spouse. Every marriage can be made better, no matter how seemingly terrible the present situation might be, if each partner would be willing to put on the garment of selflessness. Begin consciously to seek the interest and happiness of your spouse today and see how your marriage improves. I pray that the Lord will soften your heart towards your spouse and heal your marriage in Jesus' name. Peace be upon your home.